Yeah. So I'm somehow. Yeah, please. Let's. I'm just finishing, but I think I got disrupted. I'm sorry for that. So kindly, let me mention one of the districts that performed very well in terms of participation, not by how much, but district members' participation. The Northview district, it did very, very well. There was a lot of coordination, and I think we would want that all of us, we do it cheerfully, and we support. God bless you, and we're looking forward for your support and participation on 13th of October. Asanteni sana.
Thank you. Let's appreciate Engineer Kamande, and I hope the message was not lost. Let's support RMC on 13th of October. That was the most important thing, so that we can complete the project. We are in the JPRC Sunday. I will invite Professor Macharia Munene for 2 minutes, so that he can be able to take us through on the state of affairs as we see them. We are in unique times. Professor Munene, please.
Good morning, church. Leonard tells me 2 minutes. I had been told 10. But that's okay. The country right now is going through a revolution. And not a normal revolution. It's a revolution of attitude. We have serious things going on. There is a lot of despair and disappointment, countered by excitement and hope. When the choir was singing the national anthem, and this revolution is anchored on the national anthem. If you watch those people, their strength comes from the national anthem, and claiming that the country has deviated from what the promise of the national anthem was. So that's why they are singing the national anthem and carrying the flag as they demand rectification to what may be going wrong. So what has gone wrong so that it can be rectified? Politically, our politics have gone astray. We have elected leaders who appear to have no morals, who appear not to be comfortable being competent. So we have glorified ignorance and incompetence. So look at the people appointed in high offices. So they're incompetent. And the president himself has said they're incompetent. And boils down to bad politics. Our MPs vote for things they do not understand, so they tell us. They vote wrongly because of probably 3 or 4 things. One, they are bribed, so they are corrupt. And then they tell us they were bribed 2 million or 100,000 or whatever. They do not vote their conscience. 2, they are scared, so they vote out of fear. And 3, they vote because they're incompetent. So one of them told us he was asleep when he voted yes. It shows that something is totally wrong. Our economy is down the drain, despite what people have been saying. Instead of growing the economy, it has been shrinking. We've been creating poverty instead of creating wealth. And we create poverty, we engage in deliberate underdevelopment. So despite some glittering things here and there, the country is underdeveloping and getting poorer. And a country becomes poor when it cannot meet its basic obligations, when it cannot look after itself, when it cannot be trusted to do the right thing. So politically, we've been misbehaving. Economically, we are messing up. And all that adds to disappointment, disillusionment, despair. Now, there is a third aspect, the social dynamics of the country. And this is where the hope is. Our youth have shown the way. And to understand this, I think we go back to 2003. What happened in 2003? Because these youth were babies or relatively young, or they were about to be born. Mwai Kibaki became president of the Republic of Kenya. And he rejuvenated the economy. But more important than that, he said, watoto wasome. And children went to school. In fact, some parents would be harassed by the chief if the child was not in school. And they were not paying for it. So they were told, watoto wasome. These are the children who went to study, to read. And some very old children went to school also. And they read. They read critical books, good books, that aroused their consciousness. Not just wrote. They became critical thinkers to ask questions. And when they ask questions and things don't make sense, then they know how to ask questions, so they ask questions. And as they grew through the education system, they became digital. The cyber revolution that's taking place. They were told to stop being analog and become digital. And they became digital. And they operate in the cyber world. And the cyber world is multiplying in itself. Different dynamics, whether it is Instagram, WhatsApp, TikTok, Tweet or Twitter, X. There are so many of these operations, and they are all up to it. Which means there is almost nothing they cannot get into if they want to. So they get to college, and instead of the promise that was in front of them, they come to a period in the last 2 or so years where the country has been glorifying ignorance and incompetence. We saw that when the cabinet was being vetted, or some other things. People who are totally illiterate, cannot read, are put in high positions, which meant policy making was destroyed. You could not do the right thing because the people making policy do not know what they are doing. So as a result, the incapacity to look after the country became glaring. If it was possible to look after the education and health systems when Kibaki was there, the economy was growing. it is not understandable why you are forcing children to pay for schools for things they cannot. Now, the spark that came up was the finance bill. It has a lot of problems. There are claims that it is very good, this or that, but the message was not what was expected. How you remove food from school children who depend on that one lunch was mind-boggling. How we are told, for many years we've been told that the reason people do not have jobs is because they studied the wrong things, studied history, which is a confusion of mind. We have doctors, thousands of doctors. Why are they jobless? And they did not study history, if they did. Why do we have engineers who are jobless? Products of vets, TVETs, nursing schools. How come? So the problem is not what people studied. The problem is in the policy-making position at the top, by people who do not seem to know what they are doing. So you have that, the maturity, the maturing youth who saw mad, who are critical thinkers, and then you are told that things cannot work, and they wonder why. They are fearless. Now, the way they did, it appears, they became serious thinkers. They are not going to have demonstrations the old ways. It was a mental revolution, an attitude. So they were going to ask questions, explain why this and that and that and that. And the people they were challenging were not up to par. They outsmarted, out-strategized people in policy-making positions. And they were effective, mainly operating in the cyber world. They figured out that if they have one particular leader, it's easy to compromise that person or mess up the whole plan. So they claim to be leaderless, amorphous, yet united. And that became very effective. So, what came out of that? They have been able to force the president to dissolve the cabinet and to concede to a few other things. They have shown their power. So the power has shifted from elected people, politicians, who are always cheating, to the more honest youth who demand accountability. And they demand that accountability on the basis of the Constitution and the national anthem. Just one second. Yeah? They also aroused a lot of envy, the success. The politicians are not very happy because the opposition politicians would have wanted to be the ones with this success. They have called for demonstrations before and turned out violent, and they were not able to do it. But these peaceful, thinking, strategizing, were able to deliver. See all those politicians now saying, some of them want to be said they are this, but they were very careful. They said, please, you stay out of the way. It's not your battle. It's our battle. That made them very successful. And of course, as usual, when political leaders are in trouble, they gang up, try and figure out how to deflate the movement. So there's a lot of that effort to deflate the movement. How far it will go, I do not know. So generally, we are in a fluid situation. There's a lot of hope, despite the bad things we are hearing. There's hope that our youth will continue thinking, strategizing, and as they insist, to remain within the Constitution, not outside. So it's a revolution of the attitude, which means there's a lot of hope in the country, that the country is safe. When people are thinking and raising questions, despite the problems, the country is safe, and there's no need to worry too much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Macharia Munene. He is not jobless. He studied history. Bwana asifiwe. It's time I would like